Welcome to the Know, I'm Ashley.
I'm Gus.
It looks like Blizzard learned a valuable lesson, and that's don't mess with a name that's been around for decades, because you will almost certainly face the wrath of gamers, and then you have to beg for their forgiveness. Or, worse, everyone will just ignore you and call it whatever they wanted to anyway.
It's still confusing. They didn't learn.
Well, they learned a little bit, but they still managed to mess up the learning.
Well, whatever the reason, Blizzard has backed down from its plans to rename Battle.net to something called Blizzard Launcher,
Sort of.
which I couldn't remember anyway, and now says that Battle.net is here to stay.
Sort of.
The developer's online network will now be known as Blizzard Battle.net.
Way!
The script says hooray. I'm not saying hooray.
No, I'm saying
we get to keep calling the thing the same thing we always have, except now it's Blizzard Battle.net.
Even Blizzard still called it that. Like, if you're not familiar with this whole thing, here's what happened. Last year, Blizzard said that they'd be transitioning away from the name Battle.net, which they've been using for decades for their game launcher, and they would rename its various services using the Blizzard name instead, meaning we'd get names like Blizzard Streaming, Blizzard Launcher, Blizzard Voice, which I get that they're trying to unify it around the studio as opposed to Battle.net, which was kind of a random name, but it didn't work out.
But see, they're standardizing, right? Blizzard
Sure.
Battle.net.
Right,
It
yes.
fits in line with all the other things that they have.
It does indeed.
You know, why not change a brand that's been around since 1996?
That's so long.
That's forever in internet years. Needless to say, that generated a ton of backlash from fans who didn't understand why Blizzard was seemingly trying to fix something that wasn't broken. And besides, we all grew up with Battle.net. We're attached.
And even those who weren't outraged just ignored it. The funny thing is, no one, even the developers, ended up going along with the new name. We ignored it. We just all called it Battle.net. We pretended that it never went away. And Ars Technica said that it decided editorially that we would continue to use the well-known Battle.net name until Blizzard shows it's no longer willing to do the same. So even, like, no one was on board.
Oh my god. And game developers seem to forget about the change too. Back in May, Blizzard Entertainment President Mike Morhaime said Destiny's PC version would be available exclusively on Battle.net. So even the head of Blizzard didn't get the memo or forgot or took the Ars Technica route.
It's a tough habit to break. For really there's no reason to break it. A lot of gamers ended up being very curious, understandably, as to why the change even needed to happen in the first place. As Reddit user Alyosha Please said in a top-rated comment, I don't know why they tried to change something as iconic as Battle.net in the first place. Why mess with something like that? Because fucking marketing told you it's not hip enough. Battle.net sounds badass and is very nostalgic to PC gamers who remember booting up the old Blizz titles back in the day.
Finally, Blizzard backed down and said that from now on, the term Blizzard Battle.net will be used. In a statement on its blog yesterday, Blizzard said, when we announced that we'd be transitioning away from the Battle.net name for our online gaming service, we suspected that shift would be challenging. We understood that Battle.net stood for something special. It represents years of shared history and enjoyment, community and friendship for all of us and our players.
Which, honestly, it's a good way to put it, because it does, like, the names are more than just names after a certain point. They're kind of a reminder of all the good times you've had in the past. Blizzard went on to say, Battle.net is the central nervous system for Blizzard games and the connective tissue that's brought Blizzard players together since 1996. The technology was never going away, but after giving the branding change further consideration and also hearing your feedback, we're in agreement that the name should stay as well. Take it from the developer formerly known as Silicon and Synapse and Chaos Studios, names are important too.
My favorite part about this was also in the press release, they said they were listening to people's feedback and comments were disabled on the post. Fans seemed happy about the decision to keep Battle.net around. A post about the subject shot to the top of the game's subreddit as people celebrated the news. As the top-rated comment put it, Battle.net is too entrenched into the minds of any longtime Blizzard fan.
Of course, not exactly the first time a gaming company has tried to do something and then ended up backing down in the face of a negative response. Back in 2013, at the beginning of this console generation, Microsoft unveiled the new Xbox One. Remember that? Announced the console would have to connect to the internet once a day in order to prevent piracy, otherwise offline gaming would be disabled. How'd that go?
Yeah, gamers weren't cool with that, and after widespread condemnation, Microsoft promptly did a 180, and they reversed policy and said they were sorry. But it's worth wondering if the incident might have soured people on the Xbox One even before it came out and damaged the console's brand.
Oh, I mean, I don't think that's even a question. I think a lot of people just jumped off the Xbox train right from that moment and never looked back. Remember also earlier this year when Atlas told streamers not to broadcast past a certain point in Persona 5, that led to tons of outcries that Atlas was trying to ruin streamers' livelihoods. Atlas did back down a little bit, not entirely, but they did back down a little bit. They still won't allow streamers to broadcast past a certain point, but that point is
It's like 100 hours into the game.
yeah. So no one was getting to that point anyway.
But gamer reaction can make a difference in small ways too. Last month, to celebrate Independence Day, Ubisoft put some fireworks in Watch Dogs 2 as part of a little celebration, but there was one problem. They were too damn loud, according to gamers.
Too loud!
Who described them as obnoxious and like a nuke going off. And they also said, "Get off my lawn, you damn kids." After defending them at first, Ubisoft finally backed down and took them out.
Or you know what you could do also? Just adjust the volume slider down a little bit. Not the gamers, but Ubisoft. Somewhere in that back end, there is a level to that audio, and you can adjust it. We believe in you. So yeah, generally speaking, overall, gamer voices can make a pretty big difference both in large and small ways. The feedback does matter. In this case, it was getting a giant company like Blizzard to appreciate the importance of a name that's been around for more than 20 years and that we all love. At the end of the day, everyone's mostly happy. Blizzard Battle.net's still a little bit weird, but hey, we get to keep calling it Battle.net and we don't have to learn some new corporate term.
What do you guys think of Blizzard keeping the Battle.net name? Let us know in the comments.
And for all your Blizzard news, including if they ever try and rename something with 20 years of history ever again, make sure you like this video. If you're new around here, subscribe to the know.
Let's call it Blizzard Warcraft.
Blizzard Craft.
Blizzcraft.
Blizzstone.
Blizzstone.
Blizzard Watch.
Never.
Said the game's PC version. We should specify Destiny.
Destiny.
Okay, yeah. But it's worth wondering if Incident